Hey guys, VaulSC here. Hope your week is going well. Boy, am I excited because it's finally time for me to share with you a project that I've sort of been working on with one or two other people, kind of secretly, but I've just been bursting to tell you, and I'm just so pumped right now because it's finally time to reveal what we've been working on. And look, I don't even have the words right now. Let me just show you what I'm so excited about. So this is not it. This is just TTS, Tabletop Simulator, and as you can see, these are the two-dimensional miniatures that we are so familiar with using. There's the little base, there's the little strip of texture on them, and that's how we play TS. But what if instead of looking like this, they looked like this? Ah, the three-dimensional. Oh, isn't that cool? They're like the they're like your models in the game. That's what I was thinking when I first saw these. We had our buddy Vogu Hila on the Discord actually make mention of this, and not many people actually notice, but I've talked to him, and we're working on this project now, and look at it! It's 3D! Look, you can play TTS with 3D models. They just go places and you can put them into the secondary state and you can hover your mouse button over them, and there's all of the text, and we're actually updating the 3D base so that there's actually less of a collision. It's the future, guys. This is so freaking cool. Alright, so calm down. In this video, this is just like a teaser video. This is me sharing the project with you, and I'll explain sort of what this is about and where it's headed. In a week from now, I am going to be posting a full-blown tutorial explaining exactly how you guys can get this little guy here, this little Zanshi in real life that you've painted, into Tabletop Simulator. It's going to be completely free, does require some effort and time and understanding, but we will get there. For now, I'm not going to let you go into the workshop and play with the miniatures just yet. This is just a teaser video to tell you what we are doing. After the video is posted, I'm also going to be making a little a Discord chat channel in here about the 3D Infinity TTS project where you can ask your questions. But the plan is for us behind the scenes to prepare the tutorial, prepare the miniatures, and then release them this coming weekend, which is going to be so cool. You might be thinking, well, why can't I have them now? I want to play with them. Well, two reasons. Number one, getting them to this state is a little bit of a difficult process and requires, a little bit of skill and trial and error and patience, and we're not quite there yet. The last thing I want to do is just release something which is sort of half finished and have people complaining and asking when this is going to get fixed and when that's going to get fixed. I want to release a set of miniatures that people can start using to play around with, and I also want to have time to polish the tutorial so that rather than people coming back and saying, oh, I couldn't understand this part, I couldn't understand that part, I couldn't get the process right, let's put something together which is nice and polished for you to take off and make your own. I'm so pumped about this. Not that there's anything wrong with the 2D miniatures. I must say this is really important. The plan is not to replace the 2D stuff at all. I know there are some people that are going to prefer still using the 2D stuff because it's nice and clean and neat and you can see it and it's very readable on the tabletop. Very low loading time, and it's very easy to manage, and you can see their icon bases underneath. The thing is, obviously, the 3D models, they're your own models. Like a lot of different people can bring in their own color schemes and collections, and they look way nicer for bat reps, and in the distance it looks much more like you've got a real battle going on. Also, you've got the textured bases rather than anything else, and it's just so cool. It is just so cool. So how are we achieving this? Well, it's all done through photogrammetry. The idea is that you're using a real painted miniature that you own. You can't do it any other way. You're not going to be able to just whip it up in Blender or Unity or whatever it is. I mean, you can, but unless if you've got that kind of skill, this video is going to be a little bit below your scope and ability. But The idea is to have a real painted model, and sadly this is going to exclude some people who don't really have painted miniatures or haven't painted them very well, and you need a decent camera. So if you're like me, you just ran out the first day and you bought a camera beyond the cell phone camera because you needed to focus. And then there are 2 or 3 software programs that you can download for free that you can learn how to use. We'll show you how to do it, and it will be possible to have this community project where people are bringing their stuff into TTS, and damn, that is going to be exciting. Just to tell you what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks, because I've sort of not been telling the community about this, I have been practicing. If I bring out my saved objects here, the very first day, day 1, that I had my filthy little hands on a basic draft tutorial, is I ran to my shelf. I didn't literally run to my shelf, but I got like a Dakini tack bot and I put it on the floor of my bedroom on this little pedestal I'd hacked together for it, and I used my cell phone camera to take the pics just to see if I could follow the tutorial. And it didn't turn out that well, as you can imagine. Let's have a look at how we went. So this is my Dakini. And the idea is that you're meant to take 50 photographs from lots of different angles of it. Only 25 of those photographs made it because the rest were too blurry or wrong angles, because the software needs to be able to sort of build up a bit of a pattern. And it created this. This is probably what your Dakini tack bot will look like if your dog has been chewing on it, because if you look at his head and his back, a lot of stuff is sort of ripped up and there's bits and pieces not looking right on his gun. So first go just to see if I could follow the tutorial. But the thing is, even like a crappy hack job, you can still see a fair bit of detail on the texture on his leg. You can see the way I was blending the paints quite poorly on this miniature because, you know, I'm not that good at painting. And you can sort of see the kind of custom MDF base he's got there. This miniature hasn't gone through the process where we've basically put a standard a TTS base on it. But there's a way of doing that, which I'll show you guys later. But this is the kind of thing that can be achieved even just with a crappy cell phone and like barely any professional lighting at all. Obviously, you wouldn't really want to play with this miniature because it looks like crap. But anybody who's got a half decent camera that can focus, that takes a little bit more time and effort than I did, like in half an hour, would be able to exceed this, or at least get something which is passable for a miniature that can be used in the game. But that was just my first go. What happened after that is I actually went out and I bought a DSLR camera, despite, you know, there being a lockdown, and I made this, which is a Probot from Aleph. And as you can see, the textures actually look pretty good once you've got a decent camera in there. The problem with this miniature, though, is the lighting, because I was trying to do this under like a really crappy sort of lamp in a room that already had sort of orangish lighting. And my brand new camera, which I was like on day 1 of learning how to use, I also had the light fix settings on the wrong sort of configuration. So that's why this didn't look perfect. I had another go at it, not really understanding how to fix the problem. And here you see an even better miniature because I'm starting to get the camera to focus on it correctly the whole way around. So the actual execution of this photogrammetry process is very good. It's just that I hadn't really fixed the lighting problem. But shortly after that, I did fix the lighting problem. So why don't we have a look at what's possible with this 3D Infinity Miniatures project process. Excited. Okay. Loading the workshop. As I said, I've got this up and running. You guys can't have it right now. I'm not going to give you access until the end of the week, so just be patient. So let's zoom in. Vokuhila, he is my buddy from Germany who does some graphic stuff professionally. He's been working closely with me over the last couple of weeks. We've also been talking to Wino Rock No Die, of course, because he manages the mod. And he's been talking me through the process of configuring my camera and setting up the pedestal kind of turntable thing you need to get the miniatures photographed, and how to actually use the software. And I've been working it through and following his tutorial. And this is his stuff. These miniatures aren't painted by me or anybody else. This is him. And as you can see, compared to the other miniatures we just looked at, these ones actually have the base slot in the front so you can tell what the facing of the model is. That is his Discord name there, by the way, without the apostrophe and the S, Vokuhila. So do message him on Discord to ask him about this project. We will also make that chat channel, as I mentioned. But look, it's Red Veil. It's the Zanshis. These are usable miniatures for TTS. I believe we've also, in the more later incarnations of these, I told you we hadn't finished, but the more recent versions of these, we've made the collision for the base even smaller than what you're seeing right now, so that you can actually put them base to base more easily. He's also done the Hakislam stuff. Have a look. By the way, I posted a bat rep recently between US Ariadna and Varuna, which you guys may have watched on my channel. Vokuhila also came up with the Red Veil terrain as he was doing this, and the terrain in that bat rep is from him. Cool! But I must say, he's done a really nice, clean, neat paint job on these guys, and to be part of a project like this, you don't need to be like a top 1% world-class painter. Anything clean and decent and clear is going to result in a good model so long as it's photographed well. But the thing is, I know that some of you guys are just mind-bogglingly, crazily good at painting. Like, so many people are going to be better than us. And also, those people are probably going to be better at photographing their miniatures than us. So if we get a few really top-level people on board with this project, we should be able to actually have them contribute miniatures, which everybody can use in TCS, which is going to be insane. It's going to be insane, guys, if we can get that far. I have already talked to, what's his name? Already disrespecting him. Axel Castellan, who you may have seen him post some crazy-ass miniatures in the hobby and painting section of his Aleph. He's already expressed interest in doing some of the stuff. The photogrammetry process of getting stuff here, like getting the actual Zanshi from real life into TTS, is a three-part process. There's the putting it in your room and photographing it stage. Then there's the hooking it up with the actual proper base to be used for TTS that actually controls its size. Then there's the final sort of scaling and editing and putting it into asset bundle for TTS. So there's those three stages. It's possible with this project that some of you might only do the photography stage first, and you'll send us the photos or upload them to Google Drive, and we can do the rest of the processing. If you're too lazy or can't get your head around the rest of the process, it's pretty easy once you do it, so I don't really imagine too many people will have trouble for it, but the potential is there. If you really just want to photograph your images and send us photos, we can make these out of your photographs potentially. If you own amazingly painted miniatures but you don't have a camera, you may be able to get somebody else to photograph them, or if you live near to me, I may be able to come over and photograph your collection. Something I'm thinking of doing. But this is our very good friend from Germany, Vokuhila, and his very crisp and clean and wonderful looking Red Veil stuff. Note that because he's a bit more advanced than I am with the photography and with the actual 3D modeling part, his miniatures look a lot cleaner than my ones do. But let's have a look at your boy VaulSC with his kindergarten version of the project. VaulSC's Combined Army. I don't know if you guys recognize these from my bat reps, but these are miniatures that I painted. So proud of them. I know I'm not the best painter in the world. I know I'm not a perfectionist. Sometimes I make questionable choices with my color schemes. But these are miniatures in TTS which you can use. So your Nox Trooper here. Well, let's just get rid. Why don't we just delete this note card? Should we just do that? So we've got this Nox Trooper here. These guys are roughly to scale with each other, but one thing we're sort of struggling with at the moment, and one reason why this isn't really ready just yet, is we're still having a few minor scale issues. But look, the most important thing is that that's a Silhouette 2. That's exactly the same Silhouette 2 as all of the other TTS stuff. So the actual physical side of this doesn't really matter as much. But you've got a Nox Trooper with a combi and another Nox Trooper over here, and you've got your Caliban, and you've got your Icadron, even though it's kind of a crappy Icadron. This model's looking pretty neat and tasty. One thing you guys will notice already is that the lighting really matters. Like some of these miniatures, like this one of my earlier attempts, the lighting of it looks markedly different from this guy who's it came in at a bit more of an advanced stage of my test run where I've started to improve, whereas this is an earlier model where I'm still sort of ironing out some of the lighting kinks, right? You may recognize some of my non-Corvus Belli miniatures. There's no reason why they can't come in as well. This guy is a tiger creature, so he's like a silhouette one instead. Really cool. I will, next weekend, I'll teach you guys, obviously, the process, but obviously one thing you may already know how to do is just copy-pasting text. That's like the easiest step. And to create multiple states where you add an additional silhouette to a miniature, also very easy to do. Now, sometimes the photogrammetry process struggles a little bit with the underside of miniatures. This Q drone turned out kind of poorly, and I plan on redoing them just because everybody wants to use the Q drone so often. As you can see underneath his sort of undercarriage, there's a lot of white gooey texture which I've sort of left in there because it kind of looks very alien, but realistically you don't want that obscuring your miniature. The reason why all that sort of white gunk is there is because the pictures of this miniature have been taken at angles and with certain lighting where the software can't figure out what the model actually looks like under there, so it's just done some approximations, and then during the actual editing phase I've sort of cut a whole lot of it out with a scalpel, creating really ugly holes in the mesh, and that's left this sort of undesirable result. But the good news is you can simply take the photos again, run it through the process again, edit again, and you'll probably get a much better go the second time around. Similarly, if you look at this Caliban, you go up to his head, head's looking pretty passable, sword's looking pretty curvy like it's supposed to, but look at his leg. I've actually chopped parts out of the mesh because there were these ugly protrusions I was trying to get rid of, and I have made holes in the mesh in the process. That is kind of okay if you're not a perfectionist. Bear in mind, most games of Infinity, you're going to be up here, looking at it from a distance, moving them around, and you ask yourself, would I rather use this or the 2D version? Well, for me, I'd kind of rather use this, even though it's got a couple of little holes. We can come back to it and fix it, but for now, even a model with a few flaws here and there is going to be okay for games. And later this week, I'm really excited about playing a demo bat rep using only TTS miniatures that are 3D, just to show you guys what they look on an actual tabletop. That's going to be really cool. So that was my first batch. Short-term plan is to get a group of combined army, and then a group of my Yu Ching models, and then I can add to them with about 10 to 15 NA2 models to expand it to stuff like Ikari, Deshat, and JSA, because that can be added to the existing Yu Ching stuff, and then move out to O12 and Aleph, and hopefully other people will have started to join in by then for the other factions. But yeah, by the end of the week we should have a couple of factions worth of very common miniatures that everybody uses ready to go. You also notice that he's the Vokuhila who's helping me with that actually scaled the Imatron, so it's massive, probably because it's supposed to be in Silhouette 2 size. To be honest, I actually prefer this. Even though the scale is incorrect, I actually like it. I think it's better because it's supposed to be a Silhouette 2 in game. So if you're trying to sort of get line of sight to it, there's a better visual guide to have it that big. I think Corvus Belli should increase them. Alright, here are the Yu Ching. This is a more recent attempt where I'm starting to get a little bit better with the lighting, a little bit better with the editing and so forth. We already have this HVT here. Let's delete this. We already have this HVT. By the way, if you hover the mouse button over, one thing we're going to be doing for everybody who submits miniatures is you can actually hover your mouse button over and it'll actually say painted by VaulSC in the text, or painted by you if you were the one who painted it. But I was quite proud of this miniature in terms of the real life paint job. I use it in so many different games. You can see here that although there are little flaws here and there, a lot of it's fairly clean, and if you look up close you can sort of see the very gritty, lumpy paint job that I use. I mean, I'm terrible for thinning paints. I don't use an airbrush. I finish the project after I get sick of painting it, whereas I know there's a lot of you out there who just do absolutely stellar jobs on painting, and once we get clear photos of your miniatures, people will be wanting to use your stuff instead of mine. And there's no I don't feel any jealousy or shame about that. I'll probably still use my miniatures because they're mine, but I can't wait to see an amazingly good painter pull this off. So we got our Imperial Service Judge. Again, you can sort of see my blotchy sort of splattering on his cape, but from a distance, I mean, If you're playing TTS way up here and you're just moving your crane guy around the battlefield and just putting him behind cover and all of that, it's going to look great. Really going to look good. Your Dao Fei, of course, I haven't put the Silhouette 2 there on the camouflage marker, so you've still got a camouflage marker that nobody knows about until he's, a Dao Fei. We'll have a look at the pathing a little bit in a little bit, but I've also made the collision size a little bit smaller than the base actually is to make it even easier to put them up next to walls, which is going to be really cool. As you guys can see, my Yu Ching paint job is a little bit basic. There's the very harsh and bright yellow, and then everything else is monochrome black and grey. That's just how I've been doing it for years. This pheasant is a little bit more orange. He was one of my earlier works, but look, still very little wrong with that pheasant. The mesh is a little bit choppy and lumpy in places, but from a distance, you clearly recognize a pheasant rank with boarding shotgun. Nothing wrong with that guy. Lu Xing ready to drop down and blow somebody up again. The camera is picking up a lot of base texture as well, so you can see the little bits of grit and grain that I added in the base, as well as the little foliage type effect and the rusted steel of the thing that he's landing on, and obviously the red sort of undercoat that I gave a lot of his armor showing through underneath. Obviously that could be blended a lot better, but again, from a distance, you're mostly going to be playing your game looking at them from this sort of range, and they're really visible. I mean, even from way back here, you can start to see that that's a Lu Xing, that's a Dao Fei, that's a pheasant rank. Some things didn't turn out that well. This Dao Ying here, first of all, you probably want him to be a hacker, so I'll put the hacker text there, but the lighting is a little bit too bright. Also, if you're looking really, really close in the process where I'm supposed to be adding his base to the mesh part of the base to an actual TTS base, there are these little gaps around it. But again, I mean, perfectionists are going to cry over this. Me, I'm just going to be using my Dao Fei. We all know he's going to be in marker state most of the time anyway, but then he comes out, he puts his assisted fire up, goes back to camo state, and we can move on with our game. This Guangxi, again, lighting is a little bit brighter, and the model is really ugly. It's also the previous edition's sculpt rather than the new one, and this is one of the first models I ever painted back in 2015 for the Infinity TTS range, so highlighting's not really there, but you're still going to want a bunch of these guys, so you make 4 of them, 5 of them, 8 of them if you're playing Imperial Service or whatever, and you're good to go. So what I'm trying to do here is to make miniatures that are very common that a lot of people use, rather than just going for the obscure stuff right off the bat. But of course, we'll come back for a second wave. We'll be adding more miniatures to this collection constantly, right? So of course, everybody wants a Shaolin Warrior Monk. Camera had a little bit of a hard time picking up the stick, but even though it looks like a candle wax stick with a little bit of like a burnt thing on the end, you clearly can see that it's a Shaolin monk, and the textures on his clothes are visible. You can see my really ham-fisted dry brushing up close. Shame on you, VaulSC. Alright, so we've got a ninja back here. Everybody uses the ninja at some point. Killer Hack is probably the most common of them. And obviously, nice sculpt, nice base. The 3D software's picked up a lot of the miniature. And you get a pretty detailed ninja, of course, and of course a Tio Camo silhouette. You even have a Guilang from the Beyond Red Veil. Note that he's got this little protrusion sticking out of his base, which is fine because the actual original base is centered in the coordinates it needs to be, so when you pick it up and use Q or E to rotate it, it's rotating around the right spot. So you've got the silhouette there, no problem at all, and of course your sniper can be, text just changed to a combi rifle sniper. Or you can use the sniper Guilang if you want to, nothing wrong with him. Then of course my classic dude over here. You can sort of see how far I've come, right? One of my better miniatures here, the Lu Xing, up against the much more orangey. This guy looks like he's gone to Donald Trump's tanning salon. Some of you may actually prefer this kind of lighting though, and one issue that may come up in the long run is that some person might upload their model collection with like darker, more shadowy lighting, and somebody else might have it really brightly lit. So there may be a bit of a clash there, but honestly, when everything's on tabletop, and so long as there's some consistency within the faction itself, it's not going to look that bad, seriously. If I just duck out right now to, I don't know, one of the TTS League game tables, we'll just take a sec to load it all up, and let's just see if I can get some of my miniatures in there. If I go objects, saved objects, project, let's just whip this out here. Just see what some of the stuff looks like in an actual battlefield. So we've got the Zanshi from Vokuhila, Nox Trooper, yeah, looks pretty cool. Imperial Service Judge, nothing wrong with that. Got a Ninja over here. Let's put a Crane rank on top of this. Yeah, man, this is looking really cool. Chuck my Noctifer up on the rooftop where he belongs. Let's just test something really quick as well. One of my more recent additions was this Lu Xing, and the collision size, I've tried to edit it a little bit in Unity as I've been taught to, and you should be able to actually move him a bit close to the terrain without it bumping around too much. No, I don't think I've quite got it right for that one. You can make the collision sizes a bit smaller for stuff though. Yeah, see, when they touch each other, there is a small collision gap there. We can actually get them to base with things easily, and that's what a lot of us want with TTS. But anyway, you're going to be playing your game, you're going to have dice flying, cards going, counters going. There'll be a smoke template out here, and oh, not like that, there won't be. And you'll have your prone markers and your mines and your suppression fire, and you'll be having a real game, and you'll be moving your miniatures around, and it will sort of feel even more like playing this game in real life. There you go, you can get the prone marker very close to this miniature. Very little collision there. So you've got your HVT out there, you've got your Nox Trooper having a go with the Zanshi. This is going to hopefully look really good and feel really good. Got your hungry creature coming to eat up somebody. Tiger creature. And obviously the lighting, not this version has the lighting in it, but if you use the lighting, obviously it affects the models in a three-dimensional way at this point. So if I go up to options, I go down to lighting, and we change the light intensity. The 3D miniatures are actually casting shadows on the tabletop, which the 2D ones weren't really doing. Usually we don't play games with TTS with this sort of stuff on because it's a bit of an eyesore, but this kind of thing helps you really to see the three-dimensional nature of what we're working with here. Damn, guys, it's exciting. Hopefully you guys will be willing to wait 5 days for me to post the tutorial about how to put your miniatures in here. I'd love to work with you. I hope that people don't go off and independently uploading their stuff to workshops and not telling us about it. Let's do this as a community so that you guys can play games using my models if you want to, and I can play games using your models. We won't be replacing the two-dimensional ones at all. Everybody will still have the option to use them. There'll be a period of time where, well, probably a really extremely long period of time where you'll have to use some 3D models and some 2D, or you might want to go purist and only stick to the 3D ones or only to the 2D ones. That is fine. It's up to you. We just want to start making the 3D stuff available because it's pretty cool, pretty exciting. That's it for me. Come say hi in Discord and ask your questions.